Hello y'all, this is RJ here at Oakwood Cemetery in Raleigh, North Carolina. Traveling up here so we can go visit this really nice cemetery together. This is the largest and oldest private cemetery in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's about 25,000 total that are buried here. And about 1,500 Southern Americans who fought with the Confederacy are buried here as well, and I wanted to share that with you. It's a really impressive memorial hall that's right up here that I wanted to share with you. It says here, Confederate Cemetery. This is erected in memory of our Confederate dead by the Johnson Pettigrew Chapter, United Daughters Confederacy, back in 1910. Dedicated in honor of Mrs. Hoffman, 29 years of faithful service as Division Chairman of Confederate Cemetery. See right here, the United Daughters of Confederacy, North Carolina Division commemorates the sesquicentennial of the war between the states. We thank thee for our Confederate history, its pure record of virtue, valor, and sacrifice. Several Confederate generals that are buried right over here. Been here multiple times before. It's very impressive. I'm going to share with you several memorials that are very impressive over here. Some to those from Gettysburg, and there's a mass grave over here as well. You see the first national flag flying over here. It looks like it's in terrible shape. Looks like it's tied up right now and torn up. I wanted to share with you this Confederate Memorial Hall that's right over here. Very impressive. It says right here, to the Confederate women of North Carolina who nursed the wounded to health and soothed the last hours of the dying, whose unwavering faith in their cause showed ever a guiding star through the perils and disasters of war, and whose patriotism has taught their descendants to emulate the noble spirit of their fathers. It's right here, to the mothers of North Carolina, soldiers and sailors. I'm not going to share all these with you right now, but there's multiple different memorial plaques here. This one right here dedicated to those who served in World War II. This memorial pavilion, built in memory of the North Carolina soldiers and sailors, living and dead, will commemorate the valor of men who, true to the instincts of their birth, faithful to the teachings of their fathers, fought believing their cause just in the following wars: Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Mexican War, War between the states, Spanish-American War, and the World War. In memory of the private soldiers of the Confederacy and the army of unknown dead who died in northern prisons and are buried far from home and kindred. You can read the quote here. North Carolina in the last year of the war. So I'll go ahead and continue reading this. North Carolina in the last year of the war, largely due to the efforts of Zebulon Baird Vance, governor of North Carolina, from 1862 to 1865. This state contributed large sums of money and supplies to the Confederate cause. Besides supporting her own troops throughout the entire war, records show that for many months previous to the surrender, General Lee's army had been almost entirely fed from North Carolina. Through Wilmington, the last Confederate port to be closed, was imported materials which were the chief source of supplies to the Southern armies. This dedicated right here to those who served in the Revolutionary War. I'm not going to read all these right now. Dedicated to those who served in the Vietnam War and the American Revolution. And right here, Spanish-American War. This one right here to those who fought in the global war on terror. This is the World War, because we know as World War I. First at Bethel, furthest to the front at Gettysburg and Chickamauga, the last at Appomattox. The 26th North Carolina Regiment suffered at Gettysburg the heaviest loss in killed and wounded of any regiment on either sides of the battle of the war. At Chickamauga, the 60th Regiment of North Carolina troops advanced furthest into the enemy's lines. At Appomattox, Major General Bryant Grimes of North Carolina planned and led the last battle fought by the Army of Northern Virginia. North Carolina, in the war between the states, seceded May 20th, 1861. North Carolina sent 127,000 soldiers to this war from a military population of 115,369, furnishing 84 regiments and 20 battalions, thus supplying more than 1/5 of the 600,000 men in the Confederate Army. Of General Lee's 124th regiments, 24 were from North Carolina. Total number of lives lost in the Confederate Army was 74,524. Of these, 19,000 were from North Carolina. I'm going to go up here in just a little bit. You can see that, once again, the first national flag flying in the background. This explains about those who are here. It says, in this Confederate cemetery lie more than 2,800 soldiers who gave their lives for the Southern cause. From North Carolina, 2,000, South Carolina, 46, Georgia, 44, Alabama, 8, Mississippi, 8, Virginia, 4, Florida, 2, Arkansas, 1, Louisiana, 1, Tennessee, 2, Texas, 1, 3 from Confederate Navy, 124 removed from Gettysburg in 1871, 108 from Arlington in 1883, 388 from Pettigrew Hospital and Cemetery, 106 unknown. So some conflicting. This one says 2,800 soldiers in the Confederacy are buried here. Started to rain outside. As you know, there's heavy storms. I really was down. I really came to this area to go to the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Bentonville. And yesterday, there was a great reenactment. But unfortunately, due to impending storms, today's second day was canceled. This is really particularly sad because Bentonville hadn't had a reenactment for 10 straight years. They typically only have a reenactment every 5 years. But the last one 5 years ago was canceled because of COVID. And they only had one reenactment, and that was yesterday at the Battle of at the Bentonville battlefield. So this is the building I was just in, the Memorial Hall or Plaza. I'm going to go up here and just do a brief run through. You can see over here there's an obelisk off in the distance. That's to a Confederate general. All these Southern Americans who did their duty, they answered the call, did their duty to serve and protect and defend their homes and families and homeland in America's largest, deadliest war. Many are buried in unmarked graves and unknown locations. This right here is a memorial for those who were reinterred from Gettysburg. As it says right here, Here rest the remains of 137 Confederate soldiers killed in action or mortally wounded during the Gettysburg Campaign. These men represent the approximately 1,600 North Carolinians who fell during the campaign. North Carolinians accounted for 1/3 of the total Confederate dead at Gettysburg. These soldiers were reinterred to this location in 1871 under the care of the Wake County Ladies Memorial Association in cooperation with Dr. Rufus Weaver of Pennsylvania. Though men serve may not achieve a success, the brave will honor the brave, vanquished nonetheless. So those reinterred from Gettysburg to this location, 1871. And of course, there's markers like this where they continue to find the remains of soldiers, even to our modern recent times. It says right here, remains recovered from Cold Harbor, Virginia trench and reinterred on October 28th, 1990. One of those name is known only to God, but whose valor and principles for which he fought is known to many. A patriot whose honor and consistency is no sufferings could weaken, no advance tempt, no loss dismayed, and in whom all the attributes of true greatness were so nicely adjusted, so exactly placed, that it was not until the hands passed into eternal life, life eternal, that men saw that he had reached the full stature of man. I'm not going to read all this right now. This is Shotwell. Another memorial right here. You can see once again, the first national flag here in the background. I can hear thunder off in the distance. This is that storm that was anticipated. That was why the second day of the Battle of Bentonville was canceled today, unfortunately. I want to share with you this memorial over here. One of the oldest in the country. So all these headstones, some of these may be your relatives, some of these may be your ancestors. This memorial right here, I'll read some of this. This is erected way back in 1870. So about a hunt. So, as you know, this is well over 150 years old. As it says here, in memory of our Confederate dead, erected AD 1870. And on this side right here, it says, sleep, warrior, sleep. The struggle, the battle cry is hushed. Our standards have been lowered. Our blooming hopes have been crushed. Sleep, for thy name is cherished by the bravest and the best. And soldiers' hearts and women's love are with you in thy rest. Sediments from 1870, just a few years after the war. Many folks, this is made possible by private donations and those who are recognizing they lost many of their family members, relatives, husbands, fathers, sons, many buried in unmarked graves in a war they never asked for. protecting their homes, their families, their native lands. That's worth sharing with you this right here as well. Because this right here, this monument honors the remains of 107 North Carolinian Confederate soldiers, some known only to God, who died between 1863 and 1865 in Washington, D.C. as prisoners of war, and who were interred in Arlington National Cemetery. On October 17, 1883, they were reinterred at this site. So here basically is a mass grave. 107 North Carolinians that died at a POW camp in Washington, D.C. Many are only known to God. There's another marker down here for those others they did identify. But you can see it right here. Maybe you recognize a family member, a relative. Reinterred in this site in 1883. They were originally interred in Arlington National Cemetery, but reinterred here. See, the rain is starting to pick up. I'm going to go ahead and continue on walking down this way. So once again, if you're just joining me, I am in the capital of North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. The Capitol building of North Carolina is barely a mile out this direction. You may have just seen that lightning strike off in the distance. So I don't care to stay out here any longer than I have to right now. But wanted to share this with you, walking through these hallowed grounds, just the day after the reenactment, 160th anniversary of the Battle of Bentonville, which was supposed to take place right about now, but it was canceled for today due to this storm that's approaching. So if you're just joining me, once again, this is in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the cemetery here, where there's roughly about 2,800 Southern Americans buried right here in these hallowed grounds. Oakwood Cemetery. So I'm walking towards my car because the rain is starting to pick up. I'm going to get drenched if I stay out here much longer. There's nothing quite like walking through a cemetery when it's raining and a storm in the background. I encourage you to come out here, pay your respects. That's why I want to share this with you today. Share this one last thing with you. This is George Anderson, Brigadier General of the Confederate States Army. Born in 1831, died 1862 of a wound received at the Battle of Sharpsburg. All right, y'all, I'm starting to get wet here. It's time to cut this off for now. Here at these hallowed grounds here in Raleigh, North Carolina, in cemetery. Glad to be able to share this memorial plaza with you over here, and also this memorial back here. It dates back to 1870. Take care, y'all. May God bless you. May God bless and save America. May God bless and save Dixie.